Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take complex topics, dig into the sources you send our way, and pull out the key insights. Our mission: to give you that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today we're unpacking, well, it's a really fascinating and maybe a bit alarming case study. It's about how information, even technical stuff that seems pretty straightforward, can get twisted. Weaponized, really, to push a political agenda. It's a prime example of how those lines between just reporting facts and, pushing a political viewpoint can get incredibly blurry.
Absolutely, and we'll be looking at things like journalistic ethics, that old saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. And we're examining how information gets mobilized, strategically used to create political change based more on identity, on emotion, rather than, say, merit or the actual facts on the ground. Our main source for this is an article by William L. Weaver called Mightier Than the Sword, and Weaver's piece is actually analyzing another article, one from Military Times.
All right, let's dive in. This story involves weather data, satellites, and what happens when those technical facts run headlong into a political narrative. Okay, so let's start with the hook, the thing that really kicked this whole thing off. July 3rd, 2025, Military Times runs this article by Zita Ballinger-Fletcher. And the headline, it really grabs you. It says, Navy to stop sharing satellite weather data with NOAA. Now, if you read that, especially if you have any idea how crucial weather data is, what's your immediate thought?
Yeah, it sounds bad, right? Like sudden, maybe reckless, even punitive.
Exactly. It implies NOAA, the agency doing our national weather forecast, storm warnings, all that they're suddenly losing capability. The immediate question is just why? Why would the Navy just cut off this vital data?
And this is where it gets interesting, because the article right away pivots to provide a political answer to that implied why. It states, and this is a quote, "The move comes as the Trump administration has signaled its opposition to policies aimed at addressing climate change."
Wow, okay. So making a direct link.
A very direct link. And to kind of bolster that insinuation, it then adds that the Coast Guard Academy had apparently removed references to climate change earlier, supposedly to align with administration policy. So the framing is super clear. Administration doesn't like climate change action, therefore they're undermining weather prediction via the Navy.
Which is exactly what William Weaver points to in his analysis, right? He calls this the weaponization of a headline.
Precisely. Designed, it seems, to hit an emotional nerve, get that partisan reaction going before you even get to the details.
Okay, but here's where, the deep dive part comes in. Because if you actually read the details in that same Military Times article, the story changes dramatically. What do Weaver call them? The independent variables, the actual facts buried in the text.
That's right. And if you piece those together, the picture isn't one of cutting off data at all. It's actually about modernization. See, the data stream being phased out, it's from something called the Defense Meteorological Satellite Program, or DMSP. And the Military Times article itself points out these satellites are, quote, decades old. And get this, more than a decade past their expected end of life.
Oh, wow. So really old tech.
Ancient in satellite terms.
Yeah.
So from a systems engineering view, this isn't some sudden political move. It's a planned retirement. Getting rid of obsolete equipment. It had to happen eventually.
Okay, so if the old system is going out, what's replacing it? Is anything replacing it?
Yes, absolutely. That's the key part the headline ignores. The Department of Defense is replacing DMSP with the, quote, newly fielded weather system follow-on microwave, or WSFM.
WSFM, and is it better?
Apparently much better. It's described as more modern, more capable. It can analyze things like sea ice, soil moisture, snow depth, get more precise data on cyclones. And this new system, the WSFM, it was launched back in 2024, and it hit what they call initial operational capacity in April 2025. So it was ready to go.
So NOAA isn't being left high and dry then. They're getting data from this new system.
Exactly. The article explicitly states NOAA will now get data from the new WSFM, and also from another system, the Electro-Optical Weather System, or EWS.
Okay, this is sounding very different from the headline.
It is.
Maybe the most crucial point. What did NOAA itself say? Were they quoted in the article?
They were, and this is, I think, really damning for the headline's whole premise. NOAA is quoted directly. They said, "The transition to WSFF and EWS represents a modernization effort aimed at providing more resilient and enhanced environmental monitoring capabilities."
A modernization effort?
Yes, to improve our ability to understand and predict weather phenomena, including tropical cyclones.
Yeah.
So NOAA itself is calling it an improvement, an enhancement.
So let's just recap the facts within the article. Old satellites, way past their expiration date, are being retired. A new, better satellite system is operational and taking over. NOAA is getting data from the new system, and NOAA itself says this is a good thing, an improvement.
That sums it up perfectly.
Which means this isn't a story about political sabotage of weather forecasting. It's a straightforward story about technological progress, upgrading tools.
It seems pretty clear, doesn't it? The Navy replaces an old tool with a better one, and its partner agency, NOAA, is not only involved but calls it an upgrade.
So this raises a huge question about journalistic choices, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, the decision to lead with that alarming headline, to omit the crucial context about the satellite's age and replacement right at the top, and then to immediately insert that, frankly, unsubstantiated political motive about the Trump administration and climate change, it feels like a deliberate choice.
A choice that does a disservice to the public, as Weaver argues. It takes something positive, getting better technology, and twists it completely.
Right, twists it into a political fight. And it kind of preys on the fact that most people, aren't experts in satellite procurement cycles or defense meteorological systems. They see the headline, they see the political link, and they react.
And this is where Weaver brings in what he calls the tragic cost of distraction. And it's genuinely tragic.
Yeah, this part is sobering.
The day after that Military Times article came out, focusing outrage on this non-existent political sabotage, was July 4th, 2025. And on that day, catastrophic storms hit, triggered devastating floods. And at the time Weaver was writing his piece, those floods had led to 120 confirmed deaths. Over 160 people were still missing.
It's chilling, isn't it? While the news cycle, partly fueled by this article, is directing public anger towards a manufactured political controversy about weather forecasting, a real deadly weather crisis is unfolding.
Yeah.
Just starkly illustrates that idea. The pen is mightier than the sword, but not always for good. Here, it feels like information was, weaponized, mobilized based on political identity, on triggering an emotional response, instead of sticking to the merit, the truth, the reality of a tech upgrade.
And fueling that kind of partisan anger over something that's actually progress. It's not just wrong, factually. It's a dangerous distraction.
Especially when real crises, like those floods, demand clear thinking, unified focus, and the best information possible, not manufactured outrage.
So this whole case study, it really puts the responsibility back on us, doesn't it, as readers, as consumers of information?
Absolutely.
It underscores how vital it is to, look past the headline, look past the initial framing, try to find those independent variables Weaver talks about, the core facts.
Because in this story, the core facts pointed one way: routine, positive technological upgrade. But the headline and the political framing, that was a deliberate choice pointing somewhere else entirely, generating controversy instead of clarity.
So when we step back from this deep dive, what really stands out for me, it's just how powerfully framing can shape perception, how the way a story is told can completely override the facts it contains.
Yeah, that's the big one for me too. Just understanding that difference between, a really compelling, maybe emotionally charged story and the actual underlying reality. That skill is just crucial today.
So hopefully this deep dive encourages you, our listeners, to pause, to question, to dig a little deeper when you see those inflammatory headlines. Always look for those core facts, those independent variables that tell the real story.
Right, because being well-informed isn't just about knowing stuff. It's about understanding how that stuff is presented to you and maybe thinking about why it's being presented that way.
We really hope this has given you maybe a new lens, a useful tool for navigating the news landscape.
And maybe just one final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. In this environment where information can be so easily twisted and weaponized, how can we as individuals, as discerning readers, maybe encourage more ethical journalism? Journalism that really prioritizes truth and context over just generating outrage and division.
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.